Audiobook The Persona Script by the Third Library. Introduction. There is a story told in the ancient theaters of consciousness about an actor who became too good at his craft. He was cast as a beggar in a grand production, and he studied the role with such dedication that he memorized every gesture of poverty, every inflection of desperation, every subtle movement of defeat. Night after night, he performed brilliantly, receiving standing ovations for his authenticity. But somewhere between the 100th and the 1000th performance, something shifted. He began to forget that he was acting. When the curtain fell each evening, instead of returning to his mansion, he found himself sleeping on the streets. He forgot the wealth in his bank account. He forgot his family. He forgot his name. The method acting had become so complete that the actor had vanished entirely into the character, leaving only the beggar behind. This is not merely a cautionary tale from the performing arts. This is the precise description of the human condition. You are that actor. You are a divine being, an infinite consciousness with unlimited creative potential, who has become so thoroughly identified with the role of struggling human that you have forgotten your true nature entirely. You wake up each morning and immediately slip into character, never questioning whether this personality, this identity, this collection of limitations and fears is actually who you are. You have memorized your lines so perfectly that they feel like truth. I'm not good enough. I cannot afford that. People like me don't succeed. These scripts run automatically, directing your every action, shaping your every choice, creating your every experience. You have suffered from what we might call character amnesia, a complete forgetting of the actor behind the mask. The tragedy of this amnesia is not that you are playing a role. The tragedy is that you believe the role is all you are. You have confused the costume with your skin, the script with your thoughts, the stage with reality itself. You move through life defending this fictional character, as if your survival depends on it, never realizing that you are the one who wrote the character into existence in the first place. Every limitation you experience, every obstacle you encounter, every failure you endure is simply the natural consequence of the role you have chosen to embody. The beggar cannot succeed because success contradicts the fundamental premise of beggary. The victim cannot triumph because victory negates victimhood. You cannot transcend the boundaries of your current identity because your identity is those boundaries. But what if you could remember? What if, in the middle of this performance, you suddenly recalled that you are not the beggar but the actor? What if you realized that the script in your hands is not sacred law, but merely words on paper, words that can be rewritten, revised, or discarded entirely? What if you understood that the stage you stand upon is not the totality of existence, but simply one set among infinite possibilities? This moment of remembering would change everything. It would not simply improve your circumstances, it would reveal that your circumstances are projections of the character you inhabit. Change the character, and the entire world transforms around you. This is the purpose of the Persona Script. This audiobook is your wake-up call, the voice whispering through the performance reminding you that you are acting. It is designed to break the spell of identification, to create enough cognitive dissonance that you can no longer unconsciously embody your limiting role. We will not teach you to find yourself because you are not lost. That very notion is part of the beggar's script. The assumption that you are incomplete, missing something, fundamentally broken and in need of repair. Instead, we will teach you to consciously select yourself, to choose your character with intention, to write a new script and step into a new role with the full awareness that you are the actor, the director, and the screenwriter of your life. The art we are exploring is ancient, though it has been obscured by modern psychology's insistence on discovering your authentic self. But what if there is no authentic self to discover? What if authenticity is not found but created? What if the entire notion of a fixed, unchanging identity is the prison, and freedom lies in recognizing that you can be anyone, anything, at any moment? This is not deception. This is not pretending. This is the highest form of honesty, acknowledging that all identities are temporary constructions, masks worn by the eternal actor who remains forever unchanged beneath every role. Throughout this journey, we will use the language of theater, film, and performance, because this lexicon cuts through the psychological jargon that has made identity feel like destiny. When we speak of characters, avatars, scripts, and stages, we immediately recognize that we are discussing something mutable, something designed, something under conscious control. A character can be rewritten, an avatar can be redesigned, a script can be edited, a stage can be changed. This understanding alone begins to loosen the chains of identification that have bound you to your current experience of limitation. You may resist this teaching. The character you currently embody has invested enormous energy in maintaining its existence, and it will not surrender willingly. It will tell you that changing is inauthentic, that you would be lying, that real transformation requires years of therapy or dramatic external circumstances. These are the desperate arguments of a fictional entity fighting for survival. The beggar knows that if the actor remembers, the beggar ceases to exist. But you are not the beggar. You are the actor who can play the beggar or the king, the victim or the hero, the failure or the master, with equal facility. The method we will explore is what we call pragmatic mysticism. We acknowledge the mystical truth that identity is illusion, while simultaneously embracing the practical reality that you must operate within the framework of identity to navigate physical existence. Therefore, rather than attempting to dissolve all identity and float in some abstract state of pure consciousness, we will teach you to consciously construct the identity that serves your highest vision. We will merge ancient wisdom with practical technique, spiritual insight with behavioral psychology, metaphysics with method acting. This is not positive thinking. This is not affirmations or visualization or any of the shallow techniques that attempt to paint over your current character without fundamentally transforming it. This is deep ontological reconstruction, the complete dismantling of your current identity framework and the conscious construction of a new one. This is not a modification of the beggar. This is the actor stepping out of the beggar costume entirely and putting on royal robes instead. The difference is not superficial. When you truly change characters, your thoughts change, your emotions change, your behavior changes, your physiology changes, and consequently your entire experience of reality transforms. We will move through this process systematically, beginning with understanding how your current mask was created and imposed upon you, then learning how to consciously cast yourself in a new role, how to develop the character profile of your chosen avatar, how to embody this new identity physically and verbally, how to navigate the inevitable resistance, both internal and external, and finally, how to achieve the merger where the actor and the role become indistinguishable. This is the path from conscious incompetence to unconscious competence, from deliberate pretending to automatic embodiment. You may wonder if this is ethical, if consciously creating yourself constitutes some form of manipulation or deception. But consider this, you are already playing a role. The only question is whether you chose it consciously or whether it was handed to you by others and you simply never questioned it. Every personality is a performance. The only difference between conscious and unconscious identity is whether you direct the performance or whether you mindlessly repeat lines written by people who are themselves unconscious actors. To become conscious of your role-playing is not to become fake. It is to become real for the first time. As we begin this journey, release any attachment to discovering who you really are beneath the masks. There is no self beneath the masks. There is only the infinite actor, who can wear any mask, play any role, inhabit any character. You are not the character. You are the space in which characters appear and disappear. You are the awareness that observes all roles without being defined by any of them. And from this space of pure potentiality, you can consciously select the character you wish to embody, knowing that this selection is not your final truth, but simply your current creative expression. The beggar has performed long enough. The camera is rolling, the lights are bright and the audience awaits. It is time to call cut, to step back behind the curtain and to ask yourself the most important question you will ever face. If you could play any role in the grand theater of existence, if you could embody any character with complete commitment and authenticity, who would you choose to be? Not who you think you should be, not who others expect you to be, but who you, the infinite actor, choose to express yourself as in this particular scene of your eternal performance. The script is in your hands now. The stage is set. The moment has arrived. Let us begin the art of conscious re-identification. Chapter 1. The origin of the mask. Before you can consciously create your new character, you must first understand how your current character came into existence. This is not an exercise in blame or victimhood, but rather an archaeological expedition into the construction of your identity. Most people move through life believing their personality is inherent, natural, fixed by genetics or fate, or the mysterious workings of the soul. But this belief itself is part of the script you were given. The truth is far more liberating and far more unsettling. Your personality was constructed, assembled piece by piece, through a process you did not control and largely did not notice. You are not born with a complete character. You are born as pure potentiality, a blank stage upon which others begin writing immediately. The construction begins before you can speak or reason. Your parents or caregivers are your first directors, and they assign you a role based on their own scripts, their own limitations, their own unconscious projections. If your mother was anxious, she may have cast you as fragile, treating every minor illness as a crisis, every stumble as a catastrophe. And you, being a masterful actor even as a child, learn to play fragile perfectly. You internalize the gestures, the worried glances, the hesitation before action. If your father was competitive and valued achievement, he may have cast you as the promising one, the child who must succeed to validate his own unfulfilled ambitions. And you learn to perform success, or, in rebellion, to perform failure as a way of rejecting his script entirely. These early casting decisions become the foundation of your identity architecture. They are not suggestions, they are commands delivered with such authority that questioning them never occurs to you. When your parents tell you that you are shy, they are not observing an objective fact about your nature. They are writing a line into your script, and you, being cooperative and unconscious, begin to rehearse that line. I am shy. You repeat it in your mind. You use it to explain your behavior. You feel it in your body as tightness and withdrawal. Eventually, the line becomes so familiar that you cannot imagine speaking any other way. The character of the shy child solidifies, and you forget that shy is something you do, not something you are. As you move beyond the family stage, new directors enter the production. Teachers become powerful scriptwriters, assigning roles with casual authority that shapes destinies. You are not good at math, a teacher declares, and in that moment, entire futures close. Not because you lack mathematical ability, but because you accept the role of the one who cannot do math. You stop trying. You develop anxiety around numbers. You choose career paths that avoid mathematics, never realizing that you are simply being faithful to a character created by a single throwaway comment from someone who knew nothing about your true potential. These educational scripts are particularly insidious because they are delivered as objective assessments, as scientific truths, when they are actually just the projections of tired teachers managing overcrowded classrooms. Your peer group contributes their own layer to the mask. In the desperate attempt to belong, to find your place in the social hierarchy, you accept roles offered by the collective. Perhaps you become the funny one because you discovered that humor earns acceptance, or the rebellious one because rejection felt safer than vulnerability, or the smart one because intellectual performance became your shield against emotional exposure. Each of these roles comes with a complete behavioral script. How to dress, what to value, which emotions to express, which dreams to pursue. The peer-assigned character often conflicts with the family-assigned character, creating internal tension that most people experience as confusion about who they really are, never realizing that both characters are equally fictional. Trauma writes the most persistent scripts. When you experience pain, rejection, failure, or betrayal, your psyche attempts to prevent future suffering by creating a protective character. If you were abandoned, you might develop the independent one who needs no one as armor against further heartbreak. If you were betrayed, you might become the suspicious one who trusts nobody as a shield against deception. If you failed publicly, you might embody the careful one who risks nothing as insurance against humiliation. These trauma-based characters feel necessary for survival, which makes them extraordinarily resistant to change. They are not just roles, they become defensive structures, fortresses built around your vulnerability. Culture and society contribute the broadest strokes to your mask. You are given scripts about class, race, gender, nationality, religion, each one telling you what people like you can and cannot achieve. People from this background do not become artists. People of this gender should not be aggressive. People in this economic class accept their station. These cultural scripts are so pervasive, so continuously reinforced by every institution and interaction, that they become invisible. You do not see them as scripts, you see them as reality itself. The limitations they impose feel like natural laws rather than social constructions. Breaking these scripts requires not just personal courage, but the willingness to be seen as deviant, dangerous, or delusional by the collective that enforces them. Here we must pause and examine the etymology of the word that describes this constructed identity, personality. The term comes from the Latin persona, which originally referred to the masks worn by actors in classical theatre. These masks were not decorative. They were functional devices, large and exaggerated, designed so that even audience members in the back rows could identify which character was speaking. Each mask had a fixed expression: comedy, tragedy, anger, wisdom. The actor would hold the mask in front of their face and speak through it, their voice amplified by the mask's design, hence persona from personar, meaning to sound through. The mask was the medium through which the actor's voice reached the audience. This etymology reveals a profound truth that has been lost in modern usage. When the ancients spoke of persona, they understood it as something worn, something assumed, something temporary. The actor behind the mask was distinct from the character the mask represented. But somewhere in the evolution of language and culture, this distinction collapsed. Persona became personality, and instead of recognizing personality as a mask we wear, we began to believe it was our face. We forgot that we are the actor behind the persona, not the persona itself. This forgetting is the root of all psychological suffering. When you identify with the mask, you become trapped by its fixed expression. The comedy mask cannot cry. The tragedy mask cannot laugh. The angry mask cannot show tenderness. You become imprisoned by the very device that was meant to be a tool for expression. Understanding personality as mask is liberating because it reveals that you can remove it. You are not renovating your face, you are changing your costume. The difference is everything. When you believe you must change who you fundamentally are, the task feels impossible, requiring years of therapy, pharmaceutical intervention, or divine miracle. But when you realize you are simply switching masks, the task becomes immediately achievable. You are not destroying yourself, you are selecting a new character. You are not healing your brokenness, you are choosing different wholeness. The actor remains unchanged, only the performance shifts. But why would anyone willingly wear a limiting mask? Why would you choose to embody a character that suffers, struggles, and fails? The answer is that you did not choose it consciously. The mask was placed on your face before you had the awareness to refuse it, and by the time you developed consciousness, the mask had already fused with your sense of self. You cannot see it because you are looking through it. It has become the lens through which you perceive reality, and like any lens, it shapes what you can see. The shy person looks at a social gathering and sees threat. The confident person looks at the same gathering and sees opportunity. Same event, different masks, completely different experiences. The masks you wear also serve psychological functions that make them difficult to remove. They provide predictability in an uncertain world. When you know your character, you know how to behave in any situation. The mask is your operating system, your autopilot, your default program. Removing it creates a terrifying void where you must consciously choose every response rather than relying on automatic patterns. Most people prefer the prison of the familiar mask to the freedom of the unknown. They would rather be consistently miserable as a known character than risk the disorientation of becoming a new one. Additionally, your masks earn you specific forms of social validation. The victim receives sympathy. The comedian receives laughter. The intellectual receives respect. These rewards, however meager, become addictive. Your identity becomes tied to these sources of validation, and changing your character means losing your reliable methods of receiving attention and approval. This is why people often resist positive change as vigorously as they resist negative change. It is not the change itself that threatens them. It is the loss of their familiar ways of extracting value from their social environment. Your current mask also protects you from responsibility. If you are naturally anxious, you have an excuse for not pursuing opportunities. If you are not good with money, you have a justification for poverty. If you are bad at relationships, you have a reason for loneliness. The mask becomes a shield against the terrifying truth that you are responsible for your experience, that you have the power to create different outcomes, and that your suffering is not imposed by fate, but generated by your own characterization. Accepting this truth requires courage that most people do not possess, so they cling to their limiting masks as evidence that their situation is beyond their control. The process of receiving and accepting these masks is so subtle that it occurs entirely beneath conscious awareness. You do not remember the moment you decided to be insecure or limited or fearful. These characteristics simply emerged gradually through countless micro-interactions, like sediment accumulating on the ocean floor, building up layer by layer until it forms solid rock. By the time you are old enough to question your identity, the mask has already hardened into what feels like bone. You have been wearing it so long that you cannot imagine your face without it. But here is the revelation that begins your liberation. Everything that was learned can be unlearned. Every script that was memorized can be forgotten. Every mask that was placed on your face can be removed. You are not the sum total of what others told you about yourself. You are not the accumulation of your past experiences. You are not the character that emerged from your conditioning. You are the actor, the consciousness, the awareness that witnesses all of these constructions without being defined by any of them. And from this position of awareness, you can begin the process of conscious re-identification. The first step in removing the old mask is seeing it clearly. You must recognize the specific scripts you have been running unconsciously. What are the recurring lines you speak about yourself? I am not creative. I cannot lose weight. I will never be wealthy. People do not like me. These are not observations, they are affirmations, constant repetitions that reinforce your character. Write them down. See them on paper as lines from a script rather than truths about reality. This simple act of externalizing your self-talk creates enough distance that you can begin to question it. Would you cast yourself in this role if you were directing the film of your life? Or have you simply been playing the part that was handed to you by unconscious directors who had no vision for your potential? The second step is to identify the origin of each script. Where did you first learn that you were inadequate, limited, unworthy, or broken? Often you can trace a limiting belief back to a specific moment, a specific person, a specific statement that you accepted as law. Your mother's anxiety, your father's criticism, your teacher's dismissal, your ex-partner's rejection. When you see the source, you can assess its credibility. Why did you accept the judgment of people who were themselves unconscious, limited, and playing roles they never chose? Would you take financial advice from a bankrupt person? Then why accept identity advice from people who never consciously designed their own characters? The third step is to recognize the cost of continuing to wear the mask. What opportunities have you declined because your character does not do those things? What relationships have you avoided because your character is not worthy of them? What dreams have you abandoned because your character lacks the capability to achieve them? Calculate the price you have paid for fidelity to a role you never consciously selected. When the cost becomes unbearable, the motivation for change becomes undeniable. The actor can only tolerate playing the beggar for so long before the desire to remove the costume becomes overwhelming. You are standing at the threshold now, at the edge of a profound transition. Behind you is the known, the familiar, the comfortable prison of the character you have been playing. The mask has become your face, and removing it feels like self-destruction. But ahead of you is the unknown, the infinite possibility of conscious self-creation, the liberation of choosing your role rather than inheriting it. The choice before you is not between staying who you are and becoming someone else. The choice is between remaining unconscious of your role-playing and becoming conscious of it, between being directed by others and directing yourself, between living the script you were given and writing the script you desire. The origin of your mask is clear now. It was crafted by others, accepted by you, and worn for so long that it fused with your sense of self. But fusion is not permanence. With awareness, with intention, with courage, the mask can be loosened and removed. You are not destroying your identity. You are liberating yourself from false identification. The actor is preparing to step out of one role and into another. The beggar is being fired. The casting call for a new character is about to begin. Chapter 2. The Casting Call. You are the director of your life movie, though you have been operating under the delusion that you are merely an actor following someone else's vision. This misunderstanding is the source of your powerlessness, your victimhood, your sense that life happens to you rather than through you. But the truth, once recognized, is instantly transformative. You hold absolute authority over the casting of your central character. The role you have been playing was not assigned by fate, destiny, or the gods. It was cast by unconscious directors in your childhood, and you simply never questioned their authority. You never held auditions. You never reviewed the script. You never asked if this character serves the story you want to tell. But now, in this moment, you are waking up to your directorial power, and everything changes. The first act of conscious directing is recognizing that you have been cast in the role of victim. This may sound harsh or judgmental, but it is simply descriptive. The victim is a specific character with specific traits. They believe circumstances control them. They explain their limitations through external factors. They wait for rescue or permission or ideal conditions before taking action. The victim is not weak or bad. In fact, the victim is an extraordinarily sophisticated role that requires tremendous skill to maintain. It takes constant effort to identify as powerless, to overlook your own agency, to remain blind to opportunities that contradict your helplessness. You have been a brilliant victim, performing the role with such conviction that you convinced yourself completely. But why do people accept and maintain the victim role? Because it is, as counterintuitive as this sounds, the easiest character to play. The victim requires no responsibility. When you fail, it is because of your circumstances, your past, your oppressors, the economy, the system, the other people. You are absolved of accountability. The victim also guarantees sympathy and attention. People rally around victims, offering comfort and support. This social reward system reinforces the role, making it difficult to abandon even when you consciously recognize its limitations. Additionally, the victim role protects you from risk. If you never try, you never fail. If you never claim power, you never bear the burden of leadership. The victim is a fortress against the terrifying possibilities of success and the responsibilities that come with it. However, there comes a moment in every person's journey when the cost of the victim role exceeds its benefits. The sympathy you receive begins to feel condescending. The safety of inaction begins to feel like suffocation. The explanations for your limitations begin to sound hollow, even to your own ears. You look around at people with worse circumstances creating better outcomes, and the cognitive dissonance becomes unbearable. This is the moment of potential transformation. This is when the actor stirs within the character and whispers, "What if I could play a different role?" The realization that you can fire yourself from the victim role and hire yourself for the hero role is simultaneously liberating and terrifying. Liberation comes from recognizing that you are not condemned to repeat your current patterns. Terror comes from accepting that if you can change roles at will, then every limitation you have experienced was, in some sense, self-imposed. This is a bitter pill to swallow. It means that years, perhaps decades of suffering were the result of unconscious casting rather than unavoidable fate. The temptation is to resist this revelation, to defend the reality of your limitations, to prove that you really are a victim of forces beyond your control. This resistance is the victim's last desperate performance, the character fighting for survival. But let us speak truth. You do not need permission to change roles. This is the insight that most people never grasp. They wait for external validation before transforming. They believe they need a degree before they can be confident, wealth before they can be generous, success before they can be ambitious, love before they can be lovable. They have the entire equation backwards. You must embody the character first, then the circumstances align with the character. The confident person attracts opportunities that require confidence. The generous person attracts abundance to be generous with. The ambitious person attracts success that justifies ambition. The lovable person attracts love. You do not wait for the circumstances to change you. You change your character, and the circumstances respond accordingly. This is the fundamental principle of conscious casting. You assume the role first, and reality conforms to the role second. The mechanism behind this principle is multifaceted. Psychologically, when you change your character, you change your attention. Different roles notice different aspects of reality. The victim scans the environment for threats and limitations. The hero scans for opportunities and resources. Same environment, same data, but different filters produce completely different experiences. Behaviorally, different characters take different actions. The victim hesitates and withdraws. The hero advances and engages. These different behaviors naturally produce different outcomes, which then reinforce the original character assumption in a self-fulfilling cycle. Energetically, and this may sound mystical but is experientially verifiable, different characters emit different frequencies that attract corresponding circumstances. The victim broadcasts helplessness and attracts people who enable or exploit that helplessness. The hero broadcasts capability and attracts people who collaborate with and amplify that capability. You become a resonance device for the character you embody, drawing toward you the people, opportunities, and situations that match your frequency. This is not magic. It is the natural consequence of how consciousness interfaces with reality. Change your character, change your resonance, change your reality. The process of calling a new casting begins with a clear intention to fire yourself from your current role. This is not metaphorical. You must literally declare, either aloud or in writing, I am no longer playing the character of current role. This role is terminated. The performance has ended. Speak it with the authority of a director cutting a failed scene. Feel the relief of releasing a character that has exhausted you. Notice any resistance that arises, any voice that argues you cannot simply decide to stop being who you have been. That voice is the character itself, desperately lobbying for continued employment. But you are not the character. You are the director, and directors have final say over all casting decisions. Once the old role is officially terminated, you issue a casting call for the new character. This is where creative vision becomes essential. Who do you want to embody? Not who you think you should become based on external expectations, but who would you love to be if there were no limitations? Would you be confident and charismatic, disciplined and focused, creative and spontaneous, wealthy and generous, wise and serene? The character you choose must excite you, must feel like an expansion rather than a constriction. You are not trying to become someone else's idea of success. You are selecting the avatar that allows your highest expression to emerge. Describe this new character in vivid detail. Give them a name if it helps create psychological distance from your current identity. Wealthy William, confident Carla, disciplined David. This naming technique, borrowed from method acting, helps you recognize that you are creating a character distinct from your current self-concept. Write a character profile. What does this person believe about themselves? How do they speak? How do they move? What are their values, priorities, habits? The more specific you are, the more real the character becomes. Vague intentions produce vague results. Precise character construction produces precise transformation. Now comes the moment of hiring. You must officially cast yourself in this new role with the same authority that you fired yourself from the old one. Stand before a mirror, look yourself in the eyes and declare, I am now playing new character. This is my role. I fully commit to this performance. Some part of you will laugh at this exercise, dismissing it as silly or ineffective. That is the old character's resistance. Ignore it. The conscious declaration of a new role activates something deep in your psyche, a commitment mechanism that begins reorganizing your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors around the new identity. You are not pretending, you are not lying. You are assuming, in the theatrical sense, taking on a new character with full artistic commitment. The key understanding is that assumption creates reality. This is not motivational fluff. It is a fundamental principle of consciousness. You do not become confident by waiting to feel confident. You assume the character of the confident one, and confidence emerges naturally from the assumption. You do not become wealthy by waiting for money. You assume the character of the wealthy one, and your behaviors automatically align with wealth generation. The character precedes the manifestation. The role produces the reality. This is why affirmations alone fail. They attempt to convince the old character to feel differently. But we are not modifying the old character. We are replacing it entirely. This process requires a radical acceptance of your creative power. Most people resist their power because power implies responsibility. If you can create yourself, then you are responsible for what you have created up to now. If you can change your character at will, then all your suffering was the result of unconscious casting. This is a difficult truth to integrate. The temptation is to maintain that you are a victim of your past, your trauma, your circumstances, because this relieves you of accountability. But the price of this relief is perpetual powerlessness. The actor must choose comfort in victimhood or power in conscious creation. Consider the implications of this teaching. You do not need therapy to resolve your past before you can change your character. The new character simply does not include the limiting beliefs generated by the past. You do not need to heal your wounds before you can be whole. The new character is already whole, and when you inhabit it, the wounds become irrelevant. You do not need to earn the right to be confident, successful, or loved. You simply cast yourself in those roles and begin performing them. The external validation you crave is not a prerequisite for transformation. It is a consequence of transformation. Embody the character first. The world will adjust its treatment of you to match the character you are playing. This is not spiritual bypassing or toxic positivity. We are not suggesting you ignore genuine trauma or pretend away real obstacles. We are suggesting that you separate your awareness from your character. You can acknowledge that painful things happen to you without defining yourself by them. You can recognize obstacles without letting them determine your identity. The past is data, not destiny. Circumstances are context, not character. You are the actor who experienced certain events while playing certain roles, but you are not those roles, and you are not obligated to continue playing them. The social environment will resist your new casting. Friends and family have cast you in their movies, and they expect you to continue playing your assigned role in their narratives. When you suddenly appear as a different character, they experience it as betrayal or insanity. Who do you think you are, they will ask, and it is a genuine question. They literally do not recognize you outside your familiar role. You must be prepared for this resistance and committed enough to your new character that you do not break when they pressure you to return to the old one. The director must have the courage to continue filming even when the original audience walks out. Some relationships will not survive your transformation. This is painful but necessary. People who were attracted to your victim character have no interest in your hero character. They invested in your weakness because it made them feel strong, or because it justified their own victimhood, or because they profited from your dependence. When you refuse to play the victim, they will attempt to manipulate you back into that role through guilt, criticism, or rejection. You must let them go, not with bitterness, but with the clear recognition that they are audience members for a play you are no longer performing. New characters attract new audiences. Trust this process. The final element of conscious casting is commitment. You cannot merely try on the new character like a costume at a party, wearing it when convenient and dropping it when challenged. The actor must fully inhabit the role, maintaining character even when it feels awkward, unnatural, or false. This is the nature of all skill development. Conscious incompetence precedes unconscious competence. The new character will feel like acting at first because it is acting. But with consistent performance, the character becomes automatic, natural, integrated. The actor and the role merge into a seamless expression. You have the casting call before you now. The old character has been fired. The new character is defined. All that remains is the decision to step fully into the new role and commit to the performance regardless of external feedback or internal doubt. This is not a tentative experiment. This is not a half-hearted attempt. This is the director declaring, "This is who I am now, this is the character I am playing." The filming begins immediately and there are no rehearsals. Every moment is the final cut. The stage is set. The camera is rolling. The actor is ready. It is time to step into the spotlight as your chosen avatar and begin the performance that will transform not just your experience, but the entire trajectory of your existence. The hero does not wait for perfect conditions. The hero acts now, with whatever resources are available, with complete faith that the role will shape the reality. You are that hero. Claim it. Embody it. Become it. Chapter 3. The New Character. Profile. Now we move from conceptual understanding into practical construction. You cannot embody a character you have not clearly defined. The actor needs a script, a profile, a complete dossier on who this new person is, what they believe, how they move through the world. This is not a superficial exercise in wish fulfillment. This is the deep structural work of architecting a new identity framework that will govern your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors going forward. The more precise you are in this construction phase, the more powerful and automatic your transformation will become. We are writing the instruction manual for your psyche, giving it clear directions about how to operate as the new character. Begin with beliefs. Your current character holds a specific set of beliefs about reality, about yourself, about what is possible. These beliefs were installed unconsciously through conditioning, and they function as the operating system for your behavior. The victim believes, "The world is against me. I am not good enough. Success requires luck or privilege I don't have. People cannot be trusted." These beliefs generate predictable behaviors: withdrawal, defensiveness, excuse-making, self-sabotage. The new character requires a completely different belief system. What does your chosen avatar believe? The confident character believes, "I am capable of handling whatever arises." The wealthy character believes, "I create value and attract abundance." The loved character believes, "I am inherently worthy of care and connection." Write down the core beliefs of your new character. Make them specific, positive, and present tense. Next, define how this character speaks. Your language is not merely communication, it is constant self-programming. Every sentence you speak is an affirmation, reinforcing your character. The old character said, "I will try. I hope. I can't. I'm tired. I'm stressed." These linguistic patterns signal uncertainty, weakness, and victimhood. The new character speaks with completely different syntax. "I will" instead of "I'll try." "I am creating" instead of "I hope." "I choose not to" instead of "I can't." "I am energized" instead of "I'm tired." This is not positive thinking or denial of reality. This is linguistic precision, speaking from the character you have chosen rather than the character you are abandoning. Write down the phrases your old character repeatedly used, then write the translations your new character would use instead. Physical embodiment is crucial. Your posture, your gait, your breathing, your facial expressions are not consequences of your character. They are the mechanisms that generate the character. Physiology and psychology are not separate systems. They are a unified feedback loop. When you stand like a victim, slumped shoulders, downcast eyes, shallow breathing, you are literally creating the biochemistry of victimhood. Your nervous system interprets this posture as danger, triggering cortisol release, reducing cognitive function, generating anxiety. Conversely, when you stand like a king, spine erect, shoulders back, chin level, deep breathing, you activate the biochemistry of confidence. Your nervous system interprets this posture as safety and dominance, triggering testosterone and serotonin release, enhancing cognitive function, generating calm authority. This is not metaphor. This is measurable neuroscience. Your body does not know the difference between real confidence and performed confidence. It simply responds to the physical signals. If you perform the physiology of confidence consistently, your brain will produce the neurochemistry of confidence, which will generate the thoughts of confidence, which will drive the behaviors of confidence, which will create the outcomes of confidence. The actor uses the body as a tool to create the internal state, rather than waiting for the internal state to create the body. This is method acting applied to life design. Describe in detail how your new character moves. Do they rush or flow? Do they make themselves small or occupy space? Do they avoid eye contact or meet gazes directly? Do they fidget or maintain stillness? Do they speak quickly or deliberately? Watch someone who embodies the qualities you want to develop and study their physical patterns. Not to mimic them exactly, but to understand the somatic signature of the character. Then practice embodying that physical state even when you do not feel it internally. Especially when you do not feel it internally. This is where the transformation occurs, in the gap between what you feel and how you behave. The behavior, maintained consistently, rewires the feeling. What does your new character wear? This seems superficial, but clothing is costume, and costume shapes performance. You cannot play Hamlet in clown shoes. You cannot embody the wealthy character while wearing the clothes of poverty. You cannot inhabit the confident professional while dressed in the clothes of the struggling amateur. This is not about expensive fashion. This is about alignment between external appearance and internal character. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, dress like a successful entrepreneur even before the success manifests. The clothing becomes a physical reminder, a constant tactile cue that you are playing a new role. Every time you dress in your new character's costume, you are reinforcing the identity transformation. Consider the environment your new character inhabits. Where does this person spend time? What does their space look like? If you are casting yourself as the disciplined creative, set up the studio even if you have not produced anything yet. The space calls forth the character. If you are embodying the wealthy investor, organize your finances with the care and attention of someone managing substantial wealth, even if the numbers are currently modest. The external organization trains your psyche to operate at that level of sophistication. You are not pretending. You are preparing. You are creating the environmental conditions that make the character inevitable. What are the habits and rituals of your new character? This is perhaps the most practical element of the profile. Characters are not abstract. They are expressed through daily behavior. The healthy character wakes early and exercises. The productive character has morning rituals that prime focus. The spiritual character has contemplative practices that maintain centeredness. These habits are not the result of willpower applied by the old character. They are the natural expression of the new character. When you fully inhabit the healthy character, exercise is not a struggle. It is simply what this person does. The habit flows from the identity rather than requiring constant effort to maintain despite the identity. List the specific daily, weekly, and monthly behaviors of your chosen avatar. Be detailed. What time do they wake? What is the first thing they do? How do they prepare for their day? What do they eat? How do they work? How do they rest? How do they interact with others? How do they end their day? This behavioral blueprint becomes your new operating system. You are not trying to force yourself to do things your current character resists. You are stepping into a character for whom these behaviors are natural, obvious, automatic. This is why the identity shift precedes the behavior change, not the other way around. Your new character has different priorities and values than your old character. The victim prioritizes safety and comfort. The hero prioritizes growth and contribution. The scarce character prioritizes hoarding and protection. The abundant character prioritizes circulation and generosity. Define clearly what matters most to your new avatar. When you face decisions, you will filter them through these new values rather than the old ones. Would this choice align with who I am becoming becomes the primary question. Not, will this be comfortable, or will this be safe, but does this match my character? This value-based filtering naturally eliminates behaviors and relationships that contradict your new identity. Relationships are a key component of character. Your old character attracted and maintained relationships with people who reinforced that character. The victim surrounded themselves with rescuers or fellow victims. The insecure character attracted people who either validated or exploited that insecurity. Your new character requires a different social environment. The confident character attracts collaborators and challengers. The abundant character attracts other abundant people. You may need to consciously upgrade your social circle, not through cruel rejection of old friends, but through natural gravitational shift. As you embody the new character, some relationships will intensify and others will fade. Allow this. Your character determines your community. Define how your new character handles challenges. This is critical because challenges will come and your response to them either reinforces or breaks the new character. The old character, when facing obstacles, retreated into victimhood. See, I knew this wouldn't work. The new character, when facing obstacles, treats them as puzzles to solve. Interesting. What is the solution here? Same obstacle, completely different interpretation based on the lens of the character. Mentally rehearse how your avatar responds to failure, rejection, setback, criticism. Create a script. When I encounter resistance, specific response. This pre-programming prevents regression to the old character during stress. Your new character has a different relationship with time. The victim sees time as an enemy, a constraint, evidence of wasted potential. The hero sees time as a tool, a resource, a canvas. The procrastinator experiences time anxiety. The productive character experiences time abundance. How does your chosen avatar think about time? Do they rush or flow? Do they multitask or focus? Do they fill every moment or create space? Define this clearly, because time perception shapes experience more than almost any other factor. When you shift from, I don't have enough time to, I have exactly the time I need, your entire experience of reality transforms. Similarly, your new character has a different relationship with money. The scarce character sees money as limited, threatening, something to cling to desperately. The abundant character sees money as energy, something that flows in and out naturally, something to circulate generously knowing more will come. The poor character avoids looking at their finances out of fear. The wealthy character manages their finances meticulously regardless of the current balance. Define your new character's money behaviors specifically. How do they think about earning, spending, saving, investing, giving? These patterns become self-fulfilling. The character who acts wealthy attracts wealth. The character who acts poor repels it. Your new character has specific emotional patterns. The old character may have been predominantly anxious, frustrated, resentful, or depressed. These were not inherent emotions, but habitual responses generated by the character's belief system and life circumstances. The new character experiences different emotional baselines. The confident character experiences calm anticipation. The purposeful character experiences engagement and flow. The connected character experiences warmth and ease. Emotions are not things that happen to you. They are states you generate through character embodiment. When you notice old emotional patterns arising, you recognize them as artifacts of the old character, not inevitable responses to circumstances. Physical health is part of the character profile. The energetic character maintains vitality through movement, nutrition, and rest. The exhausted character neglects these foundations and then wonders why life feels overwhelming. Your body is the primary instrument through which you perform your character, and you must maintain it accordingly. Define the health practices of your avatar, not as punishment or obligation, but as natural expression of someone who values their physical presence. When you embody the character of the vital one, eating well and moving regularly are not disciplines, they are obvious choices. Creativity and self-expression are character-specific. The inhibited character suppresses authentic expression out of fear of judgment. The expressive character shares thoughts, creates art, communicates freely, because that is simply who they are. If your new character is creative, define how that creativity manifests. Daily writing, regular art, musical expression. The activity matters less than the consistent identity as a creator. You are not trying to become creative. You are assuming the identity of the creative one and allowing that identity to express naturally. Your new character has a specific purpose or mission. The aimless character drifts, reacting to circumstances without clear direction. The purposeful character moves toward a defined vision, using that vision as a filter for all choices. What is your avatar's purpose? Not what you think you should want, but what genuinely excites this character. What would they create if they knew they could not fail? This purpose becomes the North Star for your new identity, the organizing principle around which all other aspects align. Purpose transforms random activity into meaningful progress. Finally, your new character has a relationship with their future self. The short-sighted character lives for immediate gratification, sacrificing future well-being for present comfort. The visionary character makes choices that serve their future self, understanding that today's discipline creates tomorrow's freedom. How does your avatar think about their future? Do they see themselves continuing to evolve and expand, or do they see themselves as fixed and finished? The growth-oriented character remains forever in development, constantly casting themselves in more sophisticated roles. This is not exhausting, it is energizing. Stagnation is the only true death. Write all of this down. Create an actual document titled Character Profile, your avatar's name. Include beliefs, language patterns, physical embodiment, clothing, environment, habits, values, relationship patterns, challenge responses, time perception, money behaviors, emotional baselines, health practices, creative expression, purpose, and future orientation. This document is your script, your roadmap, your reference guide when you forget who you are becoming. Read it daily, especially in the early weeks of transformation when the new character feels most unfamiliar. Reading it reinforces the identity, making it more real with each repetition. The character profile is not set in stone. As you evolve, you may refine the avatar, adding nuance and complexity. But in the beginning, you need clear definition. Vague intention produces vague results. Precise character construction produces precise transformation. You are an artist sculpting a masterpiece, and the masterpiece is yourself. Give it the attention, detail, and care it deserves. This is the most important creative work you will ever do. Chapter 4. The Wardrobe Change. We now enter the realm of physical transformation, the external adjustments that signal to your subconscious mind that a fundamental identity shift has occurred. This is not superficial. The external and internal are not separate domains, they are mutually reinforcing feedback loops. When you change what you wear, where you inhabit, and how you present yourself, you are not decorating the old character. You are creating the physical conditions that make the new character inevitable. The wardrobe change is not vanity. It is strategic re-identification through environmental design. Consider the function of costume in theater and film. The costume designer does not simply make actors look attractive. They create visual signals that communicate instantly who the character is, what their role is, what their status is within the story. A king wears royal robes not because he is vain, but because the robes signal kingship to everyone who sees him, including himself. When the actor puts on the costume, they begin to inhabit the character more fully. The costume is not just for the audience, it is a transformation tool for the performer. Similarly, your daily clothing is not just practical coverage, it is a constant signal to yourself and others about which character you are playing. Your current wardrobe reflects your current character. The clothes you wear emerged from the identity you have been operating from. If you have been playing the struggling artist, you likely dress in ways that signal creative non-conformity, but also poverty, or at least indifference to conventional success. If you have been playing the invisible one, you likely dress to blend, to not draw attention, to remain unnoticed. If you have been playing the overworked professional, you likely dress in whatever is convenient and comfortable, treating your appearance as an afterthought to your packed schedule. Your closet is a physical archive of your character history. To embody a new character, you must dress that character even before the external circumstances match the role. This is where most people make a critical error. They think, when I become successful, then I'll dress well. When I lose weight, then I'll wear nice clothes. When I have money, then I'll upgrade my wardrobe. This sequence is backwards. The actor must assume the costume first and the role follows. You do not wait to feel like a king before wearing the robes. You wear the robes, and the feeling of kingship emerges from the wearing. The external shape calls forth the internal state. This is not about expensive fashion or luxury brands. This is about alignment. If your new character is the successful entrepreneur, what do successful entrepreneurs wear? Not according to fashion magazines, but according to the level of sophistication and professionalism you want to embody. If your new character is the confident creative, what does that person wear? Something that expresses both creativity and self-assurance, not apologetic bohemianism or aggressive attention-seeking. The clothing should feel like the character. When you put it on, you should feel a shift in your internal state, a sense of stepping into the role. Begin with an audit. Go through your current wardrobe and ask of each item, does this belong to my new character, or is this a costume from the old role? Be ruthless. If a piece of clothing makes you feel like your old limited self, remove it. This is not waste. This is liberation. You are not the person who wore those clothes anymore. Keeping them in your closet keeps that old identity active, available, easy to slip back into. You want to make regression difficult. Remove the costumes of the old character so that embodying the new one becomes the path of least resistance. Some clothes may need to be upgraded, not because they are worn or ugly, but because they signal the wrong character. If you are shifting from the casual amateur to the professional, your comfortable clothes might need to be replaced with more structured options. If you are shifting from the invisible to the visible, your muted colors might need to be supplemented with bolder choices. If you are shifting from the struggling to the thriving, clothes that communicate scarcity need to be replaced with ones that communicate abundance. This does not mean buying a designer wardrobe. It means buying clothes that make you feel like your new avatar, whatever the price point. The act of shopping for your new character is itself a ritual of transformation. You are not shopping as your old self. You are shopping as your new self. Before entering a store, consciously step into character. I am the confident professional. How does this person shop? What do they look for? How do they evaluate quality? How do they make decisions? Shop with the authority of your new identity. This practice begins training your nervous system to operate from the new character in public spaces, which is often where the old patterns are most entrenched. Wear the new wardrobe consistently, especially at home. This is crucial. Most people dress in costume only for public performances, then revert to their old comfortable clothes in private. But you are not performing for an audience. You are reconditioning your identity. The private moments are actually more important than the public ones. When you dress in your new character's clothes while working alone, eating alone, relaxing alone, you are signaling to your subconscious, this is who I am now, not just in public but always. The private embodiment is what makes the transformation authentic rather than theatrical. The costume change extends beyond clothing to grooming and physical presentation. Your hair, your hygiene, your level of care for your physical appearance all communicate character. The defeated character neglects grooming as a form of self-punishment or resignation. The thriving character maintains grooming as a form of self-respect and identity alignment. This is not narcissism, it is stewardship. You are caring for the physical instrument through which your character expresses. When you look in the mirror and see someone who appears cared for, you begin to feel worthy of care. The external state generates the internal state. Now we expand beyond wardrobe to environment. Your living space is the stage on which your character performs when no one is watching. The chaotic character lives in clutter, disorder, accumulated debris of an unfocused life. The focused character lives in order, simplicity, intentional design. The scarce character hoards and crowds their space with things they might need someday. The abundant character circulates possessions, keeping only what serves present purpose. Look around your living space right now. Does it belong to your new character, or is it still the set from your old life? Your new character requires a new environment, or at minimum, a redesigned current environment. If you are embodying the successful professional, create a dedicated workspace that communicates professionalism, even if it is just a corner of a room. Invest in the desk, the chair, the lighting that matches the level of sophistication you want to operate from. If you are embodying the healthy character, organize your kitchen to make healthy eating easy and obvious. Clear the junk food, stock the nutritious options. The environment should make the new character's behaviors automatic, rather than requiring constant willpower to override environmental cues. This environmental redesign is not about aesthetics, it is about identity reinforcement. Every object in your space either supports your new character or undermines it. The exercise equipment gathering dust undermines the fit character. Remove it or use it. The unread books undermining the intellectual character. Release them or read them. The neglected creative supplies undermining the artist character. Engage them or eliminate them. The environment must be ruthlessly aligned with the character, because every moment you spend in a space that contradicts your identity is a moment of cognitive dissonance that weakens the transformation. If you cannot immediately afford to transform your entire space, start with one area that you designate as sacred to your new character. Perhaps it is your morning corner, where you have your coffee and plan your day. Make that corner perfect for your avatar. The right chair, the right lighting, the right objects that remind you of who you are becoming. When you sit in that space, you step fully into character. Over time, you expand that redesigned space until your entire environment reflects your new identity. The principle here is that the actor uses props. In theater, a prop is any object the actor interacts with on stage. Props help the actor embody the character more fully. A cane helps the actor feel elderly. A briefcase helps the actor feel professional. A crown helps the actor feel royal. Your life props function the same way. The objects you interact with daily are constantly signaling to your subconscious who you are. If those objects signal poverty, struggle, chaos, or defeat, you will embody those states. If they signal abundance, achievement, order, and success, you will embody those states instead. Consider your vehicle if you have one. Is it the transportation of your new character? The successful character does not drive a car filled with trash and disrepair, not because they are snobbish, but because they treat their possessions with care as an extension of self-respect. If you cannot afford a new vehicle, at minimum clean and maintain the one you have. The care you invest in your environment and possessions mirrors the care you invest in yourself. When you treat your things with respect, you treat yourself with respect. Your digital environment is equally important in the modern era. Your computer desktop, your phone home screen, your social media feeds, all of these are environmental factors that shape your character, moment by moment. The distracted character has a chaotic desktop with hundreds of files and a phone cluttered with addictive apps. The focused character has a clean digital workspace and intentional phone configuration. Redesign your digital environment to support your new character. Remove apps that belong to the old identity. Organize your digital space to facilitate the behaviors of the new identity. Every environmental factor, physical or digital, is either supporting your transformation or sabotaging it. The wardrobe change is also about releasing attachment to the old life. Many people keep clothes, objects, and environmental configurations from their past as security blankets. Just in case the new identity doesn't work out, I'll still have my old stuff. But this hedging undermines commitment. It leaves the door open for retreat. True transformation requires burning the ships, removing the option to return to the old character. When you release the physical artifacts of the old identity, you declare to the universe and to your subconscious, I am fully committed to this new role. There is no backup plan. This does not mean you must throw away everything or spend money you do not have. It means you must be intentional and committed. If you cannot afford new clothes, upgrade what you have, tailor what fits poorly, repair what is damaged, organize what is chaotic. If you cannot move to a new space, thoroughly clean and reorganize your current space. The cost is not the point, the intention is the point. You are declaring through action that a fundamental shift has occurred, and the environment must reflect that shift. Some people resist this physical transformation because they believe it is superficial, that true change happens inside and external changes are just window dressing. But this is a false dichotomy. The internal and external are not separate. They are a unified system. When you change the external, you change the internal. When you change the internal, you change the external. The question is not which comes first, but which is easier to change. For most people, the external is more immediately accessible. You cannot directly change your beliefs, but you can directly change your clothes. And when you change your clothes, your beliefs begin to shift in response. The wardrobe change creates a discontinuity, a visible marker that life before and life after are distinct. This discontinuity is psychologically powerful. It helps you recognize when you are slipping back into old patterns, because you can literally feel yourself reaching for the old costume. The physical difference reinforces the identity difference. This is why ritual transformations in traditional cultures always include costume changes. The initiate puts on new clothes to signify the death of the old self and the birth of the new. You are engaging in that same ritual, reclaiming the ancient wisdom that external transformation facilitates internal rebirth. Stand before your closet now and see it clearly. These are not just clothes, these are costumes for different characters. You have been wearing one character's wardrobe unconsciously. Now you will select consciously the wardrobe of your chosen avatar. Every morning when you dress, you are making a choice. Which character am I embodying today? Make that choice deliberately. Put on the costume of your new role with the same intentionality that an actor prepares backstage before stepping into the spotlight. The camera is always rolling. The performance has begun. Dress accordingly. Chapter 5. Rehearsing the lines. Your speech is your script, the constant narration that programs your reality and reinforces your character moment by moment. Most people are entirely unconscious of their linguistic patterns, speaking on autopilot, repeating phrases inherited from their childhood, their culture, their circumstances. But the actor becoming conscious must scrutinize every line, because language is not passive description. Language is active creation. The words you habitually speak do not reflect your reality. They construct it. When you change your script, you change your world. Listen carefully to the language of your current character, the phrases you repeat so often they have become invisible. I'm trying to get better at this. I'm tired all the time. I can't afford that. I'm stressed. I'm busy. I never have enough time. People don't understand me. I wish I could, but I can't. These are not neutral statements. These are incantations, spells you cast on yourself repeatedly, creating the experience you claim to be describing. The tired person reinforces their fatigue with every mention of it. The busy person manufactures more busyness by constantly declaring it. The scarce person generates more scarcity through persistent acknowledgement of limitation. The new character speaks an entirely different language, not false positivity or delusional affirmation, but precise linguistic representation of the new identity. Where the old character said, "I'm trying," the new character says, "I am" or "I will." The difference is not semantic, it is ontological. Trying implies doubt, tentative effort, likely failure. I am or I will implies certainty, committed action, inevitable success. The word trying should be eliminated from your vocabulary entirely. You do not try to drink water, you drink it or you do not. Apply this same clarity to all endeavors. You're either doing or not doing. Trying is the language of the character who has already accepted defeat. I hope is another phrase to eliminate. Hope is passive waiting for external forces to arrange themselves favorably. The new character does not hope. The new character creates, intends, commits, decides. I hope I get the job becomes, I am securing the position. I hope things get better becomes, I am creating better circumstances. This is not arrogance. This is accurate attribution of agency. You are not a leaf blown by the winds of fate. You are the director of your experience. Your language must reflect this authority. I can't is perhaps the most destructive phrase in human language. It is the ultimate abdication of power, the declaration that external forces have final say over your actions. But I can't is almost never accurate. What you mean is I choose not to, or I do not know how yet, or I am afraid to. These reframings restore power. When you say I can't afford that, you place wealth in control of your choices. When you say I choose not to purchase that currently, you place yourself in control of your choices. The linguistic shift seems subtle, but it rewires the power dynamic in your psyche. Can't implies permanent limitation. Choose not to implies temporary prioritization. The word but is a negation device that undermines everything before it. I want to start a business, but I don't have time, communicates that the obstacle is more real than the desire. Replace but with and to hold both realities simultaneously without giving power to the obstacle. I want to start a business, and I am reorganizing my schedule to create time. This construction acknowledges the challenge while maintaining agency. But is the language of the victim, and is the language of the problem solver. Pay attention to self-descriptions, the labels you apply to yourself in casual conversation. I'm not good with numbers. I'm shy. I'm not creative. I'm bad at relationships. These are not innocent observations. They are identity declarations that your subconscious takes as commands. Every time you state I am limitation, you strengthen that limitation's hold on your behavior. The new character either eliminates these declarations or reframes them. I am developing my relationship with numbers. I am expanding my social comfort. I am exploring my creativity. The present continuous tense implies ongoing development rather than fixed limitation. Complaining is chronic reinforcement of victimhood. Every complaint is a declaration that circumstances are stronger than you, that you are at the mercy of things you cannot control. The new character does not complain. When the new character encounters an undesirable situation, they either take action to change it or accept it without emotional resistance. This traffic is terrible, becomes either I will leave earlier tomorrow or simple silence. The old character needed to complain as a way of outsourcing responsibility. The new character recognizes that complaining is rehearsing powerlessness. Listen to how you speak about time. I don't have time is a lie. You have all the time there is. What you mean is, I am not prioritizing that currently. This reframe returns power. When you say you don't have time, you position time as the controlling force. When you acknowledge that you are making priority choices, you position yourself as the controlling force. Similarly, I'm too busy should become I have scheduled my time fully, or I am choosing to focus on other priorities. Language that acknowledges choice maintains agency. Language that blames circumstance surrenders it. The new character speaks with precision rather than exaggeration. The old character said, "This is impossible. I'm dying. I'm starving. This is the worst." These hyperbolic statements train your nervous system to experience normal challenges as catastrophes. The new character assesses accurately, "This is difficult. I'm tired. I'm hungry. This is challenging." Accurate language produces accurate emotional response. Exaggerated language produces exaggerated emotional disturbance. Your nervous system believes what you tell it. Speak calmly and it remains calm. Speak catastrophically and it creates catastrophe response. Notice the difference between I have to and I choose to or I am committed to. I have to go to work positions work as an obligation imposed by others. I am going to work is neutral. I am choosing to go to work to achieve my goals restores power and purpose. Almost nothing in adult life is have to. You are choosing everything, even when the alternatives are unpleasant. Acknowledging your choices, even difficult ones, maintains your sense of agency and dignity. The victim has to, the director chooses to. The phrase, "I wish," is longing without commitment. I wish I were healthier. I wish I had more money. I wish I were in a relationship. Wishing is the language of fantasy, of powerless desire. The new character replaces wishing with intention or action. I am becoming healthier. I am generating more wealth. I'm creating the conditions for a fulfilling relationship. Intention mobilizes energy. Wishing disperses it. You are not a child wishing upon a star. You are an actor directing your performance. Pay careful attention to how you speak about your past. The old character constantly referenced their limitations, traumas, and failures as explanations for present circumstances. I'm like this because of my childhood. I struggle with this because of what happened to me. These statements might be historically accurate, but they are strategically disempowering. They position your past as stronger than your present intention. The new character may acknowledge the past without being defined by it. I experienced that, and now I am creating something different. The past is data, not destiny. Your language must reflect this freedom. Questions are powerful linguistic tools. The old character asked disempowering questions. Why does this always happen to me? Why can't I ever succeed? What's wrong with me? These questions presuppose negative frameworks and train your mind to search for evidence of victimhood. The new character asks empowering questions. What can I learn from this? How can I approach this differently? What resources do I need to solve this? Same situation, completely different questions, completely different mental and emotional response. The question you ask determines the answer you find. Your internal dialogue, the constant stream of self-talk running beneath your conscious awareness, is the most important script to revise. Most people are verbally abusive to themselves in ways they would never tolerate from others. I'm so stupid. I'm such a failure. I can't do anything right. This internal criticism is not motivation. It is sabotage. The new character speaks to themselves with the same respect, encouragement, and patience they would offer a valued collaborator. That didn't work. What's the adjustment? I'm learning. I'm making progress. The internal dialogue must be rewritten from self-attack to self-coaching. Catch yourself mid-sentence when you slip into old linguistic patterns. This requires constant vigilance in the early stages of transformation. You will find yourself about to say, I can't, and you must consciously stop, reframe, and restate. I am choosing not to currently, or I am developing the capability to. The first few dozen times feel awkward, unnatural, performative. That is precisely the point. You are performing a new character. The awkwardness is evidence that you are expanding beyond your current identity. Lean into the discomfort. This is rehearsal. With repetition, the new lines become automatic. In conversations with others, the new character speaks with quiet authority, rather than qualification and apology. The old character hedged every statement. I think maybe, I'm not sure, but it seems like, kind of, sort of, perhaps. This verbal hedging communicates uncertainty and invites others to disregard your statements. The new character speaks declaratively. I believe. I know. I observe. I propose. This is not arrogance. It is clear communication. You are allowed to have opinions and state them without preemptive apology. Your voice has value. Your language should reflect that. The phrase "I'm sorry" should be reserved for genuine apologies where you have caused harm. The old character apologized for existing, for taking up space, for having needs. Sorry to bother you. Sorry, can I ask a question? Sorry, I know you're busy. This chronic apologizing positions you as inferior, as an imposition. The new character does not apologize for normal human interaction. Excuse me or thank you for your time replaces the unnecessary sorry. You are not sorry for existing. You are not sorry for your legitimate needs. Stop apologizing for being human. When receiving compliments, the old character deflected or minimized. Oh, it was nothing. I just got lucky. I'm sure you could do better. This verbal self-diminishment trained your psyche to reject positive feedback. The new character receives compliments gracefully. Thank you. Period. No qualification, no minimization, no deflection. You allow the positive assessment to land, to be absorbed, to reinforce your emerging identity. Accepting praise is not arrogance. It is simple acknowledgement of reality and respect for the person offering the compliment. Practice speaking your new script even when you do not believe it yet. This is the essence of method acting applied to life transformation. The actor does not wait to feel the character's emotions before delivering the character's lines. The actor speaks the lines, and the emotions emerge from the speaking. Similarly, you speak your new character's lines. I am confident. I am capable. I am creating my desired reality. And initially it feels false. You are aware of the gap between the words and your current experience. But you speak them anyway, consistently, persistently, until the words and the experience converge. This convergence happens because language and neurology are intimately connected. Your brain does not differentiate sharply between imagination and reality, between rehearsal and performance. When you speak as though you are confident, your brain begins creating neural pathways associated with confidence. When you speak as though you are capable, your brain starts suppressing doubt-related circuitry and strengthening capability-related circuitry. The language literally rewires the neurology. You are not lying, you are programming. Record yourself speaking for 5 minutes about any topic. Then listen back. How many times did you use limiting language, hedging words, apologetic phrases, victim narratives? Become conscious of your patterns. You cannot change what you do not notice. Once you see your linguistic habits clearly, you can interrupt them. Every time you catch yourself using old character language, stop mid-sentence and rephrase. Cut. Let me deliver that line again. Treat life as an ongoing film production, where you have permission to call for retakes until you get the delivery right. Your language is not just communication. It is your constant self-hypnosis, your repetitive programming, your most powerful tool for identity transformation. The words you speak most frequently are the identity you embody most fully. If you want to change who you are, change what you repeatedly say. Eliminate victim language. Eliminate limitation language. Eliminate apology and hedge and complaint. Replace all of it with language of agency, capability, creation, and authority. Not as positive thinking overlay, but as accurate representation of your new character. The script is being rewritten. Every conversation, internal or external, is an opportunity to rehearse your new lines. The old character had a limited vocabulary of possibility. The new character speaks the language of infinite creative potential. You are learning this new language not as a foreign tongue, but as your native expression, the speech that has always belonged to you but was suppressed by years of unconscious conditioning. Speak it now. Speak it constantly. Speak it until it becomes more natural than the old script ever was. Your words create your world. Choose them consciously. Chapter 6: The Imposter Syndrome. Now we address the greatest obstacle to transformation, the psychological phenomenon known as imposter syndrome, the persistent feeling that you are fraudulent, that you are pretending, that you will be exposed and revealed as fake. This feeling is not a bug in the transformation process, it is a feature. It is actually evidence that the transformation is working. The sensation of being an imposter means you have stepped outside your familiar identity and into unfamiliar territory. It means you are performing a character that has not yet become automatic. It means you are in the growth zone, the uncomfortable space between who you were and who you are becoming. Most people interpret this discomfort as evidence that they are doing something wrong. The truth is the opposite. The discomfort is evidence that you are doing something right. Let us deconstruct the concept carefully. You feel like an imposter because you are comparing your internal experience of uncertainty with your external performance of confidence. You know that you feel unsure inside, but you are presenting certainty outside, and this gap feels like deception. But this gap is not fraud, it is professionalism. Every competent person performs beyond their comfort level. The surgeon who appears calm during a complex procedure is managing internal stress while maintaining external composure. The speaker who appears confident on stage may be experiencing nervousness internally. The entrepreneur who appears certain about their venture may be harboring significant doubt. The external performance and the internal experience do not need to match. This is not lying. This is functioning as an adult. Children are permitted to have their internal state dictate their external behavior. If a child feels scared, they cry and retreat. If they feel angry, they lash out. As adults, we are expected to regulate our internal states and choose our external behaviors consciously. This regulation is not suppression, it is mastery. When you embody confidence despite feeling uncertain, you are not being fake. You are exercising the human capacity to act from intention rather than impulse, from commitment rather than feeling. This capacity is the foundation of all achievement. No one who accomplished anything significant waited until they felt completely confident. They performed confidence and the feeling followed. The phrase, "fake it till you make it," has been misunderstood and consequently maligned. Critics claim it encourages inauthenticity, that you should only present what you genuinely feel. But this criticism misses the fundamental nature of skill acquisition. All competence begins with incompetence consciously performed. Before you could walk, you stumbled. Before you could speak, you babbled. Before you could read, you pretended to read by looking at pictures and making up stories. This pretending was not deceptive, it was developmental. It was your nervous system practicing the activity before it had the skill. The same principle applies to identity transformation. You practice being confident before you feel confident. You practice being wealthy before you are wealthy. You practice being successful before you achieve success. The practice creates the reality. The more accurate phrase is, practice it until you become it. You are not faking in the sense of deceiving. You are rehearsing, you are training. You are conditioning your nervous system to operate in a new mode. The feeling of fraudulence is simply your old identity protesting its obsolescence. The old character is arguing, this is not who we are. We are the insecure one, remember. We need to return to familiar territory. But you are not who you were. You are who you are consciously choosing to become. The old identity's discomfort is not evidence of error. It is evidence of progress. Consider how professional actors develop their craft. They do not wait to spontaneously become the character. They study the character, rehearse the character's behaviors, practice the character's speech patterns, embody the character's physicality. Initially, all of this feels artificial. The actor is acutely aware that they are performing. But through repetition, something extraordinary happens. The character becomes integrated. The actor stops thinking about what the character would do and simply does it. The performance becomes authentic, not because it was always natural, but because it was practiced until it became natural. You are engaged in the same process with your life character. Imposter syndrome intensifies in social situations because that is where your performance is most visible and potentially subject to judgment. When you embody your new character in public, you fear that others will see through the performance and recognize that you are not really this person. This fear has two flaws. First, others are not nearly as focused on you as you imagine. They are preoccupied with their own performances, their own insecurities, their own concerns. Second, others cannot see your internal state. They can only see your external presentation. If your external presentation is confident, capable, and assured, that is what they experience. Your internal turbulence is invisible to them. The only person aware of the gap between performance and feeling is you. Moreover, others generally take you at face value. If you present yourself as competent, they assume competence. If you present yourself as confident, they assume confidence. They do not conduct forensic investigations into whether your confidence is genuine or performed. The very concept of genuine confidence is questionable. All confidence is performed until it becomes habitual. No one is born confident. Everyone who appears confident learned to perform it until it became automatic. You are simply doing consciously what they did unconsciously. The consciousness does not invalidate the process, it makes it more efficient. The imposter feeling is also triggered by entering new levels of achievement or social circles where you feel you do not belong. You receive a promotion and feel like an imposter among your new peers. You increase your wealth and feel uncomfortable in more affluent social settings. You achieve success and feel unworthy of celebrating it. This discomfort is not evidence that you do not belong. It is evidence that you are expanding beyond your previous identity boundaries. The old character had a specific ceiling, a level beyond which it did not imagine itself operating. When you exceed that ceiling, you naturally feel like an imposter because you have exceeded the limits of your previous self-concept. This is growth, not fraud. The cure for imposter syndrome is not waiting until you feel authentic. The cure is recognizing that all identity is performed, and therefore you are not more or less authentic than anyone else. Everyone is acting. Everyone is playing roles. Everyone is embodying characters that feel more or less natural, depending on how long they have been practicing them. The person who seems naturally confident has simply been practicing confidence longer than you. They felt like an imposter once too. They pushed through the discomfort until the performance became integrated. You are at the beginning of your practice. Give yourself the same grace you would give any learner of any skill. There is also a more profound realization available here. The entire concept of a true self is illusory. You are not discovering who you really are. You are deciding who you are creating. There is no authentic self hidden beneath the masks waiting to be found. There is only the actor, the consciousness, which can embody any character with equal validity. When you perform confidence, you are not being false to some supposedly real identity of insecurity. You are simply choosing a different role. Neither role is more true than the other. Both are performances. The only question is which performance serves your vision and values. Embrace the awkwardness of the new role. In the early weeks and months of embodying your new character, everything will feel unnatural. Your speech patterns will feel forced. Your new wardrobe will feel like a costume. Your new behaviors will feel effortful. This awkwardness is necessary and temporary. You are in the phase of conscious competence where you must think about every action. This phase is uncomfortable but essential. It is the bridge between unconscious incompetence, not knowing what you do not know, and unconscious competence, performing without thinking. You must pass through conscious competence to reach mastery. The awkwardness is not a problem to solve. It is a stage to move through. When the imposter feeling arises, recognize it and continue anyway. Do not wait for the feeling to dissipate before acting. Act despite the feeling. The feeling is feedback from your old identity, which is losing its grip on your behavior. Of course it protests. It is fighting for survival. But you are not obligated to obey emotional feedback. You can acknowledge the discomfort and proceed anyway. I notice I feel like an imposter. Interesting. I'm going to embody confidence anyway. This stance toward emotions, observing them without being controlled by them, is essential for transformation. Emotions are data, not directives. Reframe imposter syndrome as expansion syndrome. The feeling indicates you are stretching beyond your previous limits. Athletes feel discomfort when they push past their previous performance levels. This discomfort signals growth, not injury, assuming proper technique. Similarly, the psychological discomfort of embodying a new character signals identity growth. You should feel uncomfortable. If you do not feel uncomfortable, you are probably not actually transforming. You are staying within your familiar identity parameters. Discomfort is the price of admission to new levels of capability and experience. Surround yourself, if possible, with others who are also consciously creating themselves. These people will normalize the process of identity transformation and reduce your sense of being uniquely fraudulent. When you see others deliberately practicing new characters, you recognize that everyone is doing this, and the only difference between conscious and unconscious identity is awareness. In communities of conscious creators, imposter syndrome is understood as a temporary developmental stage rather than evidence of inadequacy. This social context makes the transformation significantly easier. If such communities are not available, at minimum consume content from people who speak openly about the constructed nature of identity. Biographies of successful people often reveal periods of uncertainty, self-doubt, and conscious performance before they embodied the role that made them famous. Recognizing that your heroes also felt like imposters at stages of their journey provides permission to feel the same way without interpreting it as personal failure. You are not uniquely fraudulent. You are normally human. Journal about the imposter feelings rather than suppressing them. Write, "Today I felt like an imposter when I specific situation. The old character would have old behavior. Instead, I chose to new behavior. I noticed discomfort and I proceeded anyway." This is evidence of growth. This practice externalizes the feeling, reducing its power. It also creates a record of your transformation that you can review later when doubt arises. You will be able to see clearly how the imposter feelings diminished over time as the new character became integrated. Remember that competence and confidence do not arrive simultaneously. You may develop competence in your new role before you develop the feeling of confidence in it. This is normal. You may be objectively performing well while subjectively feeling uncertain. Trust the objective evidence. If your new behaviors are producing better outcomes than your old behaviors, then the transformation is working regardless of how it feels internally. Results are more reliable feedback than feelings. The imposter syndrome actually serves a useful function in the early stages of transformation. It keeps you humble and prevents premature arrogance. When you are learning a new role, a degree of self-awareness and caution is appropriate. You should be conscious that you are still developing, still learning, still integrating. The danger is not feeling like an imposter. The danger is either believing you have nothing to learn or being paralyzed by the feeling. Navigate between these extremes. Acknowledge your learning phase without letting it stop your performance. As you accumulate evidence of competence in your new role, successful outcomes, positive feedback, achieved goals, reference this evidence when imposter feelings arise. Create an evidence file, a document where you record every success, every compliment, every indication that your new character is effective. When doubt surfaces, review the evidence. You cannot argue with facts. If you have tangible proof that your new character produces results, the imposter feeling loses its foundation. It becomes clear that you are not fraudulent, you are simply becoming. The ultimate dissolution of imposter syndrome occurs when you stop identifying with any particular character and recognize yourself as the actor who can play any role. At that point, you understand that real and fake are meaningless distinctions when applied to identity. All roles are simultaneously real because they produce real effects, and constructed because they are consciously chosen. When you achieve this level of awareness, you can embody any character without internal conflict, because you know that you are not the character. You are the consciousness that animates the character. The imposter syndrome only exists when you believe there is a true self that you are betraying. When you realize there is no fixed true self, there is nothing to be an imposter of. For now, in the middle of your transformation, accept the discomfort as confirmation. You are doing it right. You are expanding. You are growing. You are practicing a new role until it becomes your new reality. The gap between your internal uncertainty and your external performance is not hypocrisy. It is courage. It is the space where transformation happens. Stay in that space. Tolerate the discomfort. Continue performing. The integration is coming. The feeling of authenticity is developing. The actor and the role are merging. Trust the process. Embrace the imposture. Become what you are practicing. Chapter 7. The Social Feedback. As you solidify your new character and maintain it consistently, you will encounter a predictable response from your social environment: resistance. The people who have known you as your old character will react to your transformation with confusion, skepticism, criticism, or overt hostility. This social feedback is not random. It serves specific psychological and social functions for those delivering it. Understanding these functions allows you to navigate the resistance without breaking character or regressing to your old identity. The social environment is the most challenging stage on which to maintain your new role, because it is populated by people who have invested in your old role and who experience your transformation as a threat to their own identity structures. The most common response you will hear is, "You've changed." This statement is delivered as an accusation, as if change itself is evidence of betrayal or moral failure. The subtext is, "You are not behaving according to my expectations, and this makes me uncomfortable." But change is not betrayal. Change is growth. The old character was not sacred. The relationships built around that character were not contracts requiring you to remain limited forever. When people say, "You've changed," the correct response is, "Yes, I have. Thank you for noticing." You are not obligated to apologize for transformation. You are not required to shrink back into old patterns to maintain comfort for people who prefer you limited. A more aggressive variation is, "Who do you think you are?" This question reveals the social enforcement mechanism at work. Identity in social groups is not primarily self-determined. It is negotiated and enforced by the collective. You were assigned a role in the social hierarchy, and that assignment brought with it certain expectations and limitations. When you unilaterally revise your role, you are disrupting the social structure without permission. Who do you think you are? is the group's attempt to remind you that your identity is their property, subject to their approval. The answer, of course, is, I am the director of my life, and I have recast myself. You are welcome to be an audience member or not, but I am not seeking your permission. Some people will attempt to pull you back into the old character through nostalgia and emotional manipulation. Remember when we used to old behavior? You used to be so old character trait. I miss the old you. These statements are designed to trigger guilt and doubt, to make you question whether your transformation is worth the loss of these relationships. But what you are actually losing is not the relationships themselves, but the dysfunction within them. If someone only liked you when you were limited, they did not like you. They liked the reflection of themselves they saw in your limitation. They liked feeling superior or safe or validated by your smaller self. Your expansion threatens all of that. Your transformation forces others to confront their own stagnation. When you change, you create a living contrast that makes their lack of change more visible. If you can transform, then they have no excuse for remaining trapped in their limiting patterns. This realization is psychologically painful, and many people respond by attacking the messenger. They will tell you that you are being fake, trying too hard, putting on an act, betraying your roots. These accusations are projections of their own fears about change. They are not criticisms of you. They are expressions of their own terror at the possibility that they too could transform, if only they had the courage. You will also encounter concern trolling, where people express worry about your well-being as a disguised form of criticism. I'm worried you're pushing yourself too hard. Are you sure this is really you? I just don't want to see you get hurt. This concern feels caring, but it functions as control. It positions your growth as dangerous and your previous limitation as safety. Sometimes this concern is genuine but misguided. More often, it is a socially acceptable way to express disapproval of your transformation without appearing negative. The appropriate response is appreciation without compliance. Thank you for your concern. I am intentionally choosing this path and accept responsibility for the outcomes. Some relationships will naturally fade as you embody your new character. Not through conflict or dramatic endings, but through simple incompatibility. The people you connected with as your old character may have nothing in common with your new character. Your values have shifted, your interests have changed, your priorities have reordered. The conversations that once engaged you now bore you. The activities you once enjoyed now feel like regression. This fading is not failure. It is natural evolution. Not every relationship is meant to be permanent. Some people are in your life for a season, and that season ends when the character they knew completes its arc. The relationships worth preserving are those with people who support your growth, even when it makes them uncomfortable. These rare individuals value your actualization more than their comfort. They may feel confused by your changes, they may even feel threatened, but they choose to support you anyway because they love the actor behind all roles. These people recognize that your transformation does not diminish them. It actually creates space for their own transformation. These are your true allies. Hold them close. Their support during your transition is invaluable. For relationships that are important to you but under strain from your transformation, communication is essential. Explain what you are doing and why. I have been operating from an identity that was limiting my potential. I am consciously choosing to embody characteristics that serve my highest vision. This is not a rejection of you or our relationship. This is me taking responsibility for my growth. This explanation will not satisfy everyone, but it provides context that may prevent some from taking your transformation as personal attack. Some will understand, some will not. You cannot control their response, only your clarity in communication. You must be willing to lose audience members to save the production. This is perhaps the most difficult aspect of transformation. Some people will absolutely refuse to accept your new character. They will continue to reference your past, to remind you of your former limitations, to treat you as though you have not changed. These people are anchors, weights attempting to pull you back into familiar patterns. If they cannot or will not accept your new identity, after you have clearly communicated your transformation, you must be willing to distance yourself from them. This is not cruelty, it is boundary setting. You are not obligated to maintain relationships that actively undermine your development. The social pressure to break character is strongest in family systems. Your family assigned you a role in the family drama, and family systems resist change with remarkable tenacity. If you were the screw-up, your family has organized itself around that role. Your siblings may have defined themselves as the responsible ones in contrast to you. Your parents may have found purpose in worrying about you or trying to fix you. When you suddenly refuse to play the screw-up, the entire family system destabilizes. They need you to fail to maintain their familiar patterns. They will unconsciously or consciously sabotage your transformation to restore equilibrium. Recognize these dynamics without being controlled by them. You are not required to remain dysfunctional to keep your family comfortable. In professional settings, the resistance may be more subtle but equally powerful. Colleagues and superiors have established expectations about your capabilities and behavior. When you suddenly perform beyond those expectations, some will celebrate your growth, others will resent it. They may question whether you are overreaching, whether you can sustain the new level of performance, whether you are being authentic. Ignore these doubts. Demonstrate your new character through consistent results. Competence is the ultimate response to skepticism. When your performance improves undeniably, critics must either acknowledge your transformation or reveal themselves as irrational. Do not argue with people about your transformation. Do not defend, explain excessively, or justify. Simply maintain your character and let the results speak. Argumentation is engagement with doubt, which reinforces doubt's legitimacy. When someone questions your new identity, the powerful response is calm acknowledgement, followed by continuation. I understand you see it that way. This is who I am now. Then return to embodying your character. Debate is unnecessary. You are not seeking approval or consensus. You are living your chosen identity. The most sophisticated social resistance comes in the form of subtle undermining. Jokes at your expense, sideways comments about your new behaviors, mockery disguised as playfulness. Look at you, all fancy now. Trying to be something you're not. Remember when you couldn't even old limitation? These jabs are designed to create microdoses of shame and doubt that accumulate over time. Each individual instance seems too small to confront directly, but collectively they erode confidence. Address the pattern, not individual instances. I've noticed you frequently reference my past limitations. I ask that you recognize and respect who I am becoming rather than who I was. Some people will test your new character to see if it is genuine or if they can provoke you back into old patterns. They will create situations designed to trigger your old responses. If you were the angry one, they will provoke you to see if you explode. If you are the pleaser, they will make demands to see if you comply. These tests are not conscious manipulation usually. They are the social equivalent of poking at reality to confirm it is real. Pass these tests by maintaining character regardless of provocation. When your response is consistently from the new identity, they will eventually accept that the transformation is permanent. You may need to explicitly negotiate new terms in some relationships. I know I used to play this role in our friendship, but I am not doing that anymore. Can our relationship adapt to include this new version of me? This direct approach gives the other person a clear choice. Evolve with you or part ways. Some will choose evolution, some will choose to part. Both outcomes are acceptable. You are not obligated to maintain relationships at the expense of your growth. Expect that your transformation will inspire some people and threaten others, sometimes in the same person simultaneously. They will admire your courage while feeling judged by your progress. They will celebrate your success while feeling diminished by the comparison. These complex reactions are human and normal. You cannot manage other people's emotional responses to your growth. You can only maintain your own character and allow them to process their feelings without taking responsibility for them. Their reactions are about them, not about you. Remember that most people are unconscious actors playing roles they never chose. When they resist your conscious transformation, they are not being malicious. They are being unconscious. They do not recognize that all identity is performed because they have never questioned their own performance. Your transformation is threatening because it implies that change is possible, which means they are responsible for their continued stagnation. This is a terrifying realization that most people avoid at all costs. Have compassion for their resistance while maintaining firm boundaries against it. The ultimate test of your transformation is whether you can maintain character in the face of unanimous social rejection. If every person in your current social environment rejected your new identity, would you persist, or would you break character to regain approval? The actor who cannot perform without applause is still dependent on external validation. The actor who performs regardless of audience response has achieved true autonomy. Ideally, you will not face universal rejection, but you must be willing to face it if necessary. Your character cannot be contingent on social approval. As you establish your new character consistently over time, the social environment will eventually adjust. The resistance will diminish. People will begin to treat you according to your new identity rather than constantly referencing your old one. New people will enter your life who only know you as your current character, with no attachment to who you were. These new relationships will feel easier, more natural, because they are not burdened with the expectation that you return to a previous limited state. They accept who you are now because they never knew you any other way. The social feedback loop eventually becomes self-reinforcing in the positive direction. As people treat you according to your new character, you receive constant environmental confirmation of the new identity. This external reinforcement makes maintaining the character easier and helps the final integration occur, where the role becomes indistinguishable from the actor. But you must survive the initial resistance period, where the environment is pulling you backward while you are pushing forward. This period is the crucible. Those who pass through it emerge transformed. Those who break character during this period return to their old identity, usually with additional shame and diminished confidence in their capacity to change. Hold your line. Maintain your character. Let the critics criticize and the supporters support. Let the uncertain relationships resolve themselves naturally toward either evolution or conclusion. Let the new relationships form around who you are now rather than who you were. Trust that authentic connections can survive transformation, and that connections dependent on your limitation are not worth preserving. You are not the same person. You have consciously rewritten your character. The stage is yours. The performance continues. The audience will adjust or they will leave. Either way, the show goes on. Chapter 8. The Merger. We arrive now at the culmination of the transformation process, the moment when the actor and the role become one. This is the state beyond practice, beyond performance, beyond conscious effort. This is the integration where your new character is no longer something you do, but something you are. The distinction between the conscious embodiment of the role and your natural state dissolves. You are no longer thinking about being confident, you simply are confident. You are no longer performing success, you are successful. The mask has fused with the face, not through permanent fixation but through seamless integration. This is the moment of merger. The merger does not happen suddenly. It is not a dramatic transformation where you wake up one morning completely different. It is a gradual process so subtle that you may not notice it occurring until you look back and realize that what once required tremendous effort now happens automatically. The confident walk you once had to consciously choreograph now occurs without thought. The authoritative speech patterns you once had to deliberately employ now flow naturally. The beliefs that once felt like affirmations you were forcing yourself to repeat now feel like simple truth. The character has become integrated into your default operating system. The transition from conscious competence to unconscious competence is marked by a specific shift. You stop monitoring yourself. In the early stages of transformation, you were constantly aware of your performance, constantly checking whether you were maintaining character, constantly adjusting your behavior to align with your new identity. This self-monitoring was necessary but exhausting. The merger occurs when this monitoring fades. You begin to move through your day, embodying your new character without needing to remind yourself to do so. The behavior has become automatic. encoded in habit and neural circuitry through countless repetitions. One indication that the merger is approaching is the reduction of internal resistance. The old character's voice, which once protested constantly, "This isn't really you, you're just pretending, you should go back to being comfortable," begins to fade. The protests become less frequent, less loud, less compelling. Eventually, they disappear almost entirely. This silence does not mean the old character is destroyed. Neural pathways are never erased. They can only be replaced by stronger pathways. But the old patterns have weakened to the point where they no longer compete effectively with the new patterns. The new character has won the internal struggle through consistent performance. Another sign is the change in how others relate to you. People who once questioned your transformation begin to accept it as your new normal. They stop saying you've changed with suspicion and start treating your new character as simply who you are. New people you meet have no reference point for your old identity. They only know you as your current character. When the majority of your social interactions are with people who see you as your new identity, the social reinforcement powerfully consolidates the merger. Your identity is not just internal, it is co-created through social interaction. When the social mirror reflects your new character consistently, the integration accelerates. The merger is also characterized by emotional congruence. In the beginning, you may have performed confidence while feeling uncertain internally. This gap was normal and necessary, but as the merger progresses, the internal state begins to match the external performance. You not only act confident, you feel confident. You not only speak with authority, you experience internal authority. The emotions that were once deliberately generated through performance now arise spontaneously in alignment with your character. This emotional integration is perhaps the clearest indicator that the role has become authentic in the deepest sense. However, you must understand that the merger is not the end of conscious choice. You are not permanently fused with this character in a way that eliminates agency. The merger is better understood as the automation of a consciously chosen identity. The character has become your default, your baseline, your normal, but you remain the actor. If you choose, you can create another character and undergo another transformation. The merger is not imprisonment, it is mastery. You have become so proficient at this role that it requires no effort, which frees your attention for higher-level creative direction of your life. The state of mastery is not rigidity, but fluidity within structure. You have a core character that operates automatically, but you can modulate that character according to context. The confident professional character may express differently in a business meeting versus a social gathering versus an intimate relationship. You are not mechanically repeating the same performance in all situations. You are improvising within the framework of your core identity, responding authentically to the present moment while remaining true to your chosen character's values and qualities. This is the difference between an amateur actor rigidly reciting lines and a master actor inhabiting a role with nuanced responsiveness. One of the paradoxes of the merger is that as the character becomes automatic, you may momentarily forget that you ever struggled to embody it. The new identity feels so natural that you cannot imagine being any other way. This is a sign of complete integration, but it can also create a subtle danger. You may forget your agency in the creation process. You may begin to believe that this is simply who you have always been, forgetting that you consciously constructed this identity. Maintain the meta-awareness that you are the actor, even as you become fully absorbed in the role. This awareness preserves your creative power for future transformations. The merger process is accelerated by achieving results that confirm your new identity. When you perform behaviors consistent with your new character and those behaviors produce desired outcomes, the feedback loop is complete. Your brain receives concrete evidence that this identity works, that it produces superior results compared to the old identity. This empirical validation is more powerful than any affirmation or visualization. You cannot argue with results. When your confident character secures opportunities, when your disciplined character achieves goals, when your abundant character generates wealth, the identity is reinforced at the deepest level. There may be moments during the merger phase where you slip back into old patterns. These regressions are normal, and do not indicate failure. They are simply evidence that the old neural pathways still exist and can be activated under specific conditions, usually stress or exhaustion. When regression occurs, do not interpret it as loss of all progress. Simply recognize what has happened. I temporarily reverted to the old character. Interesting. Let me consciously step back into the new character now. The ability to quickly recover from regression and return to your chosen identity is itself a sign of advancing integration. The complete merger is marked by a shift in your reference point. You no longer define yourself by contrasting with who you used to be. You do not constantly remind yourself that you are different now. The old identity becomes a distant memory, almost like learning about a different person. Your reference point is now simply your present character. This is who you are, without qualification, without comparison, without the mental effort of maintaining distinction from a former self. The transformation is complete when you no longer think of yourself as transformed. At this stage, your identity feels solid yet flexible. Solid in that you have a clear sense of self, values, and behavioral patterns that define you. Flexible in that you can adapt to new circumstances without losing core integrity. You are not rigidly attached to specific expressions of your character, but you are firmly rooted in the character's essential qualities. This combination of solidity and flexibility is the mark of mature identity integration. You know who you are, and you can respond authentically to whatever arises without needing to constantly reference an internal script. The merger also brings a deepening of presence. When you are no longer expending energy monitoring and adjusting your performance, that energy becomes available for genuine engagement with the present moment. You can listen more deeply, observe more clearly, respond more authentically. The cognitive load of maintaining character has been eliminated through automation, freeing your awareness for higher quality interaction with reality. This increased presence is not just a psychological benefit, it is a spiritual one. You become more available to life itself. Your relationship to challenge transforms in the merger phase. Obstacles are no longer threats to your identity, but simply puzzles to solve. When your identity was fragile and newly constructed, challenges felt existentially threatening because they could potentially break your character and force regression. But once the merger is complete, your character is stable enough that challenges become opportunities to demonstrate mastery. You welcome difficulty because it allows you to prove to yourself and others that your transformation is real and permanent. The hero does not avoid dragons. The hero seeks them out as necessary components of the heroic journey. You may notice a reduction in the need for external validation. In the early stages of transformation, you needed others to confirm that your new character was believable. Their acceptance and recognition provided essential reinforcement, but after the merger, their opinions become less relevant. You know who you are because you live from that identity every day. External validation becomes pleasant when it occurs, but not necessary for maintaining your sense of self. This is true autonomy, the capacity to remain identified with your chosen character, regardless of whether others acknowledge or validate it. The merger also changes your relationship to failure. When you fail in the early stages of transformation, it felt like evidence that you were fraudulent, that you should never have attempted this new identity. Failure threatened to expose you as an imposter, but after the merger, failure is just feedback. Your identity is not contingent on never making mistakes. Your character includes the capacity to fail, learn, adjust, and continue. The confident character does not become insecure when they encounter setbacks. They remain confident while addressing the setback. This resilience is a hallmark of integrated identity. You will also experience a shift in your aspirations. The goals that motivated your initial transformation may begin to feel small or already achieved. This is natural. You are now operating from a new baseline, and what was once a reach is now normal. You will naturally set new goals aligned with your expanded identity. The wealthy character, once established, does not simply maintain wealth. They pursue greater wealth or different expressions of abundance. The transformation process does not end with the merger. It simply advances to the next level. You become someone who is continuously evolving, using each integrated identity as a platform for the next transformation. The final stage of the merger is what we might call the transparent performer. You are simultaneously fully embodied in your character and fully aware that you are performing. There is no contradiction here. You are not pretending. You are not being false. You are living authentically from a consciously chosen identity while maintaining the meta-awareness that you chose it. This dual awareness is the mark of the awakened actor. Most people live in either unconscious identification, believing they are their character, or detached observation, remaining apart from all characters. The transparent performer integrates both, fully committed to the performance while fully aware of performing. This state is the answer to the question, who are you really? The answer is, I am the actor and I am this character I have chosen to embody. Both are true. Neither is more fundamental than the other. This paradox is not a problem to solve, but a reality to inhabit. You are the infinite consciousness that can assume any form, and you are the specific form you have currently assumed. You are the ocean and the wave. You are the actor and the role. This recognition is not just intellectual, it is experiential. You feel yourself as both the creator and the creation simultaneously. The merger does not eliminate the possibility of future transformation. In fact, it enhances it. Because you have successfully transformed once, you know the process. You know that identity is malleable. You know that you can consciously create yourself. This knowledge is liberating. You are never stuck. If at some point you decide that your current character no longer serves your evolution, you can undergo another transformation. You can cast yourself in a new role, knowing that the discomfort is temporary and the integration is inevitable if you persist. You have proven to yourself that conscious self-creation works. This proof is your greatest asset. Live now as the merged being, as the actor-character united in seamless expression. Move through your day not as someone trying to be something, but as someone who is. Let the performance flow effortlessly because it has been practiced into mastery. Let your character express naturally because it has been integrated completely. Let your identity feel solid because it has been earned through consistent embodiment. You are not becoming anymore. You have become. And from this new baseline, all things are possible. The stage is yours. The character is established. The performance is masterful. The life is transformed. Epilogue. Life is a stage, and you have been performing on it since your first breath. But for most of your performance, you were unconscious of the script, unaware that you were acting, believing that the character you played was the totality of your being. You suffered the beggar's poverty, the victim's powerlessness, the failure's shame, all while the actor within you, infinite, creative, free, watched from behind the mask, waiting for the moment of remembering. That moment has arrived. You have awakened to your nature as the director, the screenwriter, the casting agent of your life. You have recognized that the character you inhabited was not assigned by fate, but accepted through unconscious conditioning. You have understood that personality is persona, that identity is mask, that the self you took as solid truth was actually fluid performance. This recognition is not loss, it is liberation. You are not dissolving yourself. You are discovering your infinite capacity for self-creation. You have learned the process. You terminated the old character that limited your potential. You issued a casting call for a new avatar. You wrote a detailed character profile defining beliefs, behaviors, speech patterns, and physical embodiment. You changed your wardrobe and environment to support the new identity. You rehearsed new linguistic patterns until they replaced old scripts. You endured the discomfort of imposter syndrome, recognizing it as evidence of growth rather than fraud. You maintained character despite social resistance, allowing relationships to evolve or conclude based on alignment with your transformation. And finally, you achieved the merger, the integration where the actor and the role became seamlessly one. But the journey does not end with integration. The merger is not your final destination, it is your new beginning. You have proven to yourself that conscious self-creation is possible, that you have agency over your identity, that you can cast yourself in any role you choose and, through committed performance, make that role your lived reality. This knowledge is power beyond measure. You are no longer trapped by your past, your circumstances, your conditioning, or your previous self-concept. You are free. This freedom is not the freedom to do whatever you want without consequences. It is the freedom to choose who you are and accept the consequences of that choice. It is the freedom to direct your own performance rather than unconsciously following scripts written by others. It is the freedom to rewrite your character whenever the current role no longer serves your highest vision. You are the author of your autobiography, but you are writing it in real time through the choices you make moment by moment about which character to embody. The stage you stand on is not a rehearsal. There is no backstage where you can prepare in private before the real performance begins. The camera is always rolling. Every moment is the final cut. Every interaction is recorded. Every choice is creating your legacy. This is not pressure, this is empowerment. You do not need perfect conditions to begin living from your chosen character. You do not need more time, more resources, more preparation. You need only the decision to embody the avatar now, in this moment, with whatever is available to you. The world will not announce your transformation. There will be no graduation ceremony, no official recognition that you have successfully completed your identity shift. The confirmation comes only through lived experience. You will know the transformation is real when your external circumstances begin to align with your new character, when opportunities consistent with your new identity appear, when people begin treating you according to the role you are playing rather than the role you used to play. Trust this process. The universe responds to the frequency you broadcast, and you broadcast the frequency of the character you consistently embody. Your new character is not your final form. You may inhabit this identity for years or decades, allowing it to fully express and evolve. Or you may find that this character was a necessary stepping stone to an even more sophisticated role. The actor can play infinite characters. Once you have transformed successfully once, you can transform again, and again, and again. Each transformation becomes easier because you understand the process. You know that discomfort is temporary, that resistance is normal, that integration is inevitable if you persist. You are no longer afraid of change because you have mastered change. But in this moment, commit fully to the character you have chosen. Do not hedge. Do not maintain one foot in the old identity while testing the new one. Burn the ships. Close the door on who you were. Step completely into who you are becoming and act as if you already are. This is not delusion. This is method acting applied to life. The actor must fully inhabit the role for the performance to be believable, and in the theater of life, believable performance creates actual reality. When you embody the confident one completely, you become genuinely confident. When you embody the successful one completely, you become genuinely successful. The performance, when total, becomes the truth. Remember that you are not alone in this process. Every person who has achieved anything significant, who has transformed their life, who has become more than their circumstances predicted, every one of them went through this same process. They may not have articulated it in these terms. They may not have been conscious of the theatrical metaphor, but they did it nonetheless. They fired themselves from their limiting role and hired themselves for a new one. They practiced the new character until it became natural. They endured the awkwardness, the doubt, the social resistance. They achieved the merger. And now they stand as living proof that transformation is possible. You join their ranks now. You are no longer the unconscious actor stumbling through inherited scripts. You are the awakened performer, consciously directing your life movie. You are the keeper of your own identity, the guardian of your own potential. No one can grant you permission to transform, and no one can withhold it. The power has always been yours. The choice has always been yours. The only question was whether you would recognize and exercise that power or continue to pretend you were powerless. The persona script is complete now. The teaching has been delivered. The process has been mapped. The rest is performance. You know what to do. You know who you have chosen to be. You know that the character you embody today is creating the life you will inhabit tomorrow. The beggar's tomorrow is more begging. The king's tomorrow is more kingdom. Choose accordingly. Stand now and feel your spine lengthen. Feel your shoulders pull back. Feel your chin rise to level. Feel your breath deepen. This is not just good posture. This is the physical embodiment of your new character. Let it anchor in your body. Let your physiology reflect your chosen identity. Let every cell in your being receive the message. The transformation is complete. The old character has exited the stage. The new character is performing now. Speak now aloud, if you are able, the declaration of your new identity. Use your name if it serves you, or use the character name you have chosen. I am your chosen character. I fully embody key qualities. I create desired outcomes. I am committed to this role. The performance has begun. Let your voice carry the authority of the director. Let your words program your reality. Let your declaration echo through your psyche, establishing the new baseline from which you will operate. Walk now from wherever you are reading these words, and walk as your new character. Not as the person who began reading this audiobook, but as the person you have chosen to become. Let every step broadcast your transformation. Let your gait reflect your new identity. Notice how different the world looks when you move through it as a different character. Same world, different experience. This is the power of conscious identity. The stage is yours. It has always been yours. You have been performing your entire life, but now you perform with awareness. You have been creating your reality your entire life, but now you create with intention. You have been the actor your entire life, but now you direct the performance. This is not the beginning of your journey. This is the awakening within the journey, the moment you stop being acted upon and start acting, the moment you claim authorship of your life story. There are no rehearsals, there is no safety net, there is no pause button. The production continues whether you are conscious of it or not. But conscious participation transforms everything. The same actions that were once burdensome become empowering when performed with awareness. The same challenges that were once threatening become opportunities when approached as your new character. The same relationships that were once draining become nourishing when you show up as your authentic, consciously chosen self. The third library has delivered its teaching. The audiobook has reached its conclusion, but your performance continues. The script is rewritten. The character is cast. The costume is donned. The lines are memorized. The stage is illuminated. The audience waits, though their presence is irrelevant. You perform not for applause but for authentic expression, not for validation but for creation, not for others but for the sheer joy of conscious self-authorship. Action